August 20th, 1966. A teenage boy climbs a grassy hillside in Niterói, Brazil. He is flying a kite. The wind carries it higher, pulling him toward a patch of dense brush. And then he sees them, two men in suits, lying side by side on the grass, perfectly still. Their arms are straight at their sides, almost peaceful, almost like they chose to lie down there. But something is wrong. Something is deeply, horribly wrong. Over their eyes, crude masks, fashioned from lead, rough slabs of metal cut and bent to shield their faces, as if they were trying to protect themselves from something they expected to see. The boy runs. He runs down that hill as fast as his legs can carry him, because he knows, without anyone telling him, that those two men are dead, and whatever killed them left no marks at all. To understand what happened that day, we need to go back 3 days. August 17th, 1966. The city of Campos dos Goitacazes, in the state of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Two men leave their homes that morning. Their names are Manuel Pereira de Cruz, age 32, and Miguel Jose Viana, age 34. Both are electronic technicians. Both are well respected in their community. They are not drifters. They are not criminals. They are skilled professionals with families who love them. On that Wednesday morning, Manuel and Miguel tell their families they are going to São Paulo. They need to buy supplies for their work, a car, and some electronic materials. It seems routine, ordinary. The kind of trip two colleagues make without a second thought. But they do not go to São Paulo. Instead, they travel to Niterói, a coastal city across the bay from Rio de Janeiro. They arrive that afternoon and purchase 2 raincoats from a local shop. Simple, waterproof raincoats, nothing unusual. Then they stop at a bar. A waitress later recalls serving them. She remembers because one of them kept checking his watch, nervously, obsessively, as if he had an appointment he could not afford to miss. She also notices that one of the men appears anxious, agitated. The other tries to calm him down. They leave the bar around 3:15 in the afternoon, and after that, no one sees them alive again. 3 days pass. August 20th. A young boy named Jorge da Costa Alves climbs Vintém Hill to fly his kite. Vintém Hill, also called Morro do Vintém, overlooks the city of Niterói. It is a steep, overgrown hillside, not a place most people visit. But the boy likes the wind there. On this day, the wind leads him to something no child should ever find. 2 bodies, lying in the tall grass near the summit, side by side. The men are wearing their best suits. Their formal clothes are clean, pressed, undamaged. No signs of struggle. No signs of violence, no blood, no bruises, no wounds of any kind. But each man wears a mask, a crude, oval-shaped mask made from lead, the kind of lead used to shield against radiation. The masks cover only their eyes, as if the men had fashioned them to block out some kind of light, some kind of signal, something they were waiting to see. Beside the bodies lies a small notebook. And inside that notebook, words that would haunt investigators for decades. Police arrive at the scene within hours. What they find raises more questions than answers. There is no sign of a struggle. There are no footprints other than those belonging to the 2 men and the boy who found them. There is no evidence that anyone else was on that hilltop. But the notebook is what stops everyone cold. Written in Portuguese, the note reads, 16:30. Be at the agreed place. 18:30. Swallow capsules. After the effect. Read that again. Swallow capsules. After the effect. Protect metals. Wait for the mask signal. These are instructions. Precise, timed instructions. Written in the handwriting of one of the dead men. They were following a procedure, a ritual, A protocol of some kind. But a protocol for what? The phrase, protect metals, is especially strange. Some investigators believe it refers to the lead masks themselves. Lead is a metal known to block certain types of radiation. Were the men trying to shield themselves from something? Were they expecting some kind of energy? Some kind of light? And then there is the most chilling instruction of all. Wait for the mask signal. A signal from whom? A signal from what? The capsules mentioned in the note were never found. Whatever they swallowed, if they swallowed anything at all, left no trace. And here is where the case takes its darkest turn. No autopsies were performed in time. The bodies decomposed before proper toxicology could be conducted. The lab was backed up, the paperwork was delayed, and so the single most important question, what killed these two men, was never answered. Not because the answer was unknowable, but because no one tested for it in time. Two healthy men in their 30s, no visible injuries, no signs of illness, no apparent cause of death, and a notebook full of instructions that sound like they came from another world. The case was growing stranger by the hour, but investigators had not yet heard what the neighbors had to say. In the days following the discovery, police began interviewing residents who live near Vintham Hill, and the stories they hear are unsettling. Multiple witnesses report seeing strange lights over the hill on the evening of August 17th. The same evening the two men were believed to have died. One woman describes a bright, oval-shaped object hovering above the summit. It pulsed with light. It made no sound. Then it vanished. Another resident says he saw flickering lights, blue and orange, moving in patterns that no aircraft could replicate. These are not isolated reports. Several people, independent of one another, described the same phenomenon. Lights over Vintham Hill. The same night, two men lay dead with lead masks over their eyes, waiting for a signal. But the investigation reveals something else. Something that deepens the mystery even further. Manuel and Miguel were not ordinary electronic technicians. They had a secret interest. Both men were deeply involved in what Brazilians call scientific spiritualism. It was a movement that blended elements of science, spirituality, and the paranormal. They attended meetings. They conducted experiments. They believed that through the right combination of chemicals, meditation, and electronic equipment, they could make contact. Contact with what? That depends on who you ask. Some say spirits. Some say extraterrestrial beings. Some say interdimensional entities. Their friends and family confirmed that the two men had been experimenting for months, building homemade devices, mixing compounds, testing crude forms of sensory deprivation. The lead masks, blocking out visual input. The capsules, possibly a psychoactive substance to alter perception. The timed instructions, a precise experimental protocol. They were running an experiment on that hilltop. An experiment in making contact with something beyond human understanding. And whatever happened during that experiment, it killed them both. But here is what makes this case truly terrifying. This was not their first attempt. Records show that another man had been found dead under nearly identical circumstances. On the same hill. In 1962, 4 years earlier, he too wore a lead mask. He too had no visible cause of death. That case was never solved either. Decades have passed, and still, no one can agree on what happened on Vintham Hill. The theories fall into several categories. Let's examine each one. Theory 1. Poisoning. This is the most grounded explanation. The men swallowed capsules, as their own notebook confirms. Those capsules may have contained a toxic substance. Perhaps they were poisoned by a third party. Perhaps they poisoned themselves, believing the capsules were part of a spiritual ritual. Without toxicology results, we will never know. It does not explain the lead mask. It does not explain the UFO sightings. And it does not explain the man who died the same way 4 years earlier. Theory 2. A failed paranormal experiment. This theory suggests the men were sincere believers. They genuinely thought they could make contact with otherworldly beings. They ingested a psychoactive substance to open their minds. They wore lead masks to protect against an expected burst of energy or light. And something went wrong. The substance killed them. This theory fits the evidence more closely. It explains the masks, the capsules, the timed instructions, and the men's known interest in spiritualism. But it requires us to accept that two intelligent, skilled technicians would risk their lives on a homemade occult experiment. Theory 3. Murder disguised as ritual. Some investigators believe the men were lured to that hilltop. Someone, perhaps a fellow member of their spiritualist group, convinced them to follow the protocol. The capsules were not what the men thought they were. The masks were not protection. They were a disguise, a way to make the deaths look mysterious, ritualistic, unsolvable. And it worked. Theory 4. The unexplained. Some researchers refuse to rule out the possibility that something genuinely anomalous occurred on that hill. The UFO sightings, the lack of any cause of death, the previous identical death in 1962, the precise, almost clinical protocol in the notebook. What if the men did make contact? What if something answered? And what if that answer killed them? No theory has ever been proven. No theory has ever been fully disproven. The lead masks case remains classified as unsolved by Brazilian authorities to this day. It has been 60 years. 60 years since Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana climbed Vintam Hill for the last time. Their families never received answers. The Brazilian police never closed the case. And the questions, the terrible, gnawing questions, remain. Why did two rational, educated men fashion crude masks from lead? What were the capsules they swallowed? Who, or what, were they expecting to meet on that hilltop? Why did multiple witnesses see unexplained lights over the hill on the exact same night? Why was a man found dead in the same spot, wearing the same kind of mask, 4 years earlier? And perhaps the most disturbing question of all, why was no toxicology ever performed? The answer to what killed these men may have been sitting in a lab, waiting to be tested. But no one ever ran the test. The samples decomposed. The evidence vanished, and with it, perhaps the only chance we ever had of solving this case. Some mysteries endure because we lack the technology to solve them. Some endure because the truth is too strange to accept. But some mysteries endure for the worst reason of all. Because someone, somewhere, chose not to look. Vintam Hill still stands over Niterói. The grass still grows where two men lay, and on quiet nights, the locals say, the lights still come. They hover over the summit. They pulse. They wait. And then they disappear. Just like the truth behind the lead masks case. The lead masks case is one of the strangest unsolved mysteries in history. Two men, two masks, one notebook. And no answers. If this story disturbed you, it should have, because some cases are not meant to be comfortable. Subscribe to Dark Archive. Turn on notifications, because the next case we cover might be the one that keeps you up at night. We'll see you in the dark. Wow.